All right. So what is your name and your current or most recent coaching position? And share a little bit about your coaching history and accomplishments.
My name is Alex Moreno. I am a co-head coach for Jake Higher Ground, which is we deal with at-risk. We coach at-risk students, so we pretty much teach them the fundamentals and the basics of basketball, and pretty much how to play together and use each other, use their teammates basically.
Okay. So what is your favorite coaching moment or memory?
With the kids that we deal with at-risk youth, so people that problematic kids. So favorite moment for me would probably be just seeing them communicate and play as a team, because I know a lot of them don't have very trustworthy relationships. So when they can trust each other and trust me as a coach, I feel it's like it's a big moment for me.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the most difficult coaching moment or incident that you have faced?
We actually deal with a lot of kids get into big debates, fighting, and stuff like that. So, like I said, it's hard to get them to trust you, and that was a really big thing. Getting me not only to trust me, but to trust their teammates. That's probably one of the most difficult things I had to do, because they come from problematic households. Sometimes they don't have father figures. They don't even trust their own parents or family. So, to get them to trust me and their teammates is probably one of the most difficult things I've had to do.
Okay. So, what potential role and impact can coaches have in young people's lives?
I say when you're a coach, you become to some people you become a father figure and even like a mentor. So you're teaching them a lot of what they don't already know. How to respect others, how to respect their teammates, how to play with others, how to trust others. And that's a big impact that you can have not only for them on the basketball court, but to take outside the world, in the real world.
So how do you think coaching has changed over time, especially when you consider like generational change?
I think it's changed a lot, because I think before you used to see coaches like yelling and cursing out their players and stuff like that, and it was like normal. And now I don't think you can really see that much.
Yeah,
I think
you can't do that no more.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think you can get it's highlighted a lot more when you're yelling at your players and you're cursing them out. You see the parents get more involved and get more upset when things like that go on. So I think back then it was a little more. You had a little more say.
Okay, so what kind of relationship do you create with your athletes, and like why do you think relationships are important?
For me, I try to create trust. Like I said, I bring up trust a lot. I try to show them I'm not just a coach, but somebody they can like actually talk to. So I try to build more than just a coaching relationship, but like kind of not. I don't want to say friend,
Right?
Because I don't want them to think I'm their friend. So they don't. I don't want them to just talk to me like a friend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I try to be a mentor, basically. Somebody they can ask for advice, basically.
Okay. So how do you motivate different kinds of athletes and like different kind of personalities?
I think you have to know what each person's personality is at first. So you have to know some people get affected emotionally easier. You can't. Some people you can talk to or call out in front of everybody. Some people you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, when you call them out in front of others, it motivates them to play a little better. Some people you have to talk to one-on-one and try to motivate them one-on-one. Some people you can compliment and motivate them. Some people you have to actually like, hey, you need to step your game up and motivate them like that with harsh words, basically.
Okay. So how do you choose like team captains and like identifying leadership roles and things of that nature?
I think that's actually a really easy part, choosing like team captains and identifying roles and stuff like that. The people that put the most effort out there show that they give it their all every single time in, time out, with their effort, with their vocal skills is really big. If you're going to be a leader, you need to be able to communicate with everybody. So that's a pretty easy one. When you see that somebody's really vocal and communicate with their teammates, I think that shows a big leadership role.
Okay. So how do you describe your leadership style?
As a coach,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty assertive. If I ask them to do something, I expect it to be done.
Right.
And I don't like I don't mind being asked a question to so they can get it right. But if they keep asking the same question because they're not paying attention, then that's what upsets me. So I like being assertive and making sure that they're paying attention and everything is on point at the time. I just want to make sure everybody. I don't like repeating myself if I don't have to.
Right, right. So, do you think your personality has like an impact on the way you coach? And if it does, like, is it a good or a bad impact?
I think definitely personality has an impact because I mean, if you're an emotional person, you're gonna coach emotionally, like during the games and stuff like that. You're gonna it's just natural. You see with everybody. So I think my personality, I'm a pretty emotional person, especially when like during games and stuff. So I think I don't think it's excessive, but I think it's part of everybody's nature. Emotions run high during games and stuff like that during competitive.
Right. So how do you go about like preparing or planning or organizing as a coach, and why do you think that's important?
For me, that's a lot easier because since I am a co-head coach, I have another person to talk to. I think it's a lot easier for us to share ideas, and then when we can come to, hey, I'm a person that tell you, hey, I don't like that, and he's also the type of person that says, hey, I disagree with that. So we can always see what's good and what's bad, and we can always come to an agreement. When we come to an agreement as co-head coaches, I think it's probably the best when we have two people that are like, hey, we need to do this and do that. I think it's a lot easier when you have two people to communicate with each other. So, and it gives two people to actually visualize all the players too. So it's pretty hard to have one person managing 12, 13 players. And when you have two people, you actually have more eyes seeing what your players are about.
Right. So, so why do you think it's critical for coaches to consider age, skill level, and other environmental factors?
During competition, like why can't all ages play in the same league and stuff like that, or what?
Yeah, so like when you're coaching, like how you approach the players, like let's say for you, you're
Oh,
coaching a
okay,
certain age group, you don't want to be
okay, okay.
implementing too
Yeah, well,
complex stuff.
when kids are like when they're younger, you don't want to. I feel like when kids are younger, like 10, 11, I think they take criticism a lot harsher. I feel like they think you're picking on them, as opposed
Right,
when kids are older, it's more of it's constructive criticism. Like, hey, he's just trying to help me get better and better.
right,
When they're younger, I don't think they see it that way. I think it's more like, oh, he's just picking on me. He's always picking on me. They don't see that you're trying to really help them. They feel like it's just I'm always doing something bad, right? So I feel like when they're older, you can actually tell them, hey, this is what you need to work on, and stuff like that.
okay. So why do you think that it's important to have a positive relationship with parents, administrators, your boss, fellow coaches, and all that?
Well, for fellow coaches, if you don't have a good relationship, you're gonna butt heads. So that's step number one. Administrators and bosses and stuff like that. Those are the people that run really run the show. Like like the owners of basketball teams and stuff like that. So that's the head of the snake, right? Basically. So those are the people you have to run things through. So I mean, if things aren't going good up the top, it's not going to go well at the bottom.
Right, right.
And then with the parents, I feel like it's their kids, so they're going to be at every single game. So you don't want to butt heads with parents, basically, or else you might get a kid taken away and set them on another team, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just trying to make everybody happy.
So do you think coaches can influence the lives of players outside of sports and encourage positive and pro-social behavior, as well as academic and professional success?
Oh, absolutely. That's a big part of what I do. I deal with a lot of kids that are, like I said, that are at risk or they don't have father figures and stuff like that. So I feel like my job isn't just coaching them for basketball. It's more also for things that they can use outside of the basketball world. So like things they can use in the real world, basically respecting other people, listening to other people's opinions, whether they agree or disagree. Just showing that, hey, not everything's gonna go my way.
Yeah.
And you gotta uh, competition's a competition, but in the outside world, it's also a competition and everything. So you just have to learn how to manage your emotions, basically.
Right. So, so like when you consider like race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, all of those things. How do you create an environment where everybody from all walks of life can kind of feel comfortable and feel like they're included?
I think just treat everybody the same. Treat you don't choose favorites. Basically, just treat everybody equally. Everybody wants to be treated the same. So just, hey, you do this, then everybody does it. If you're in trouble, the whole team's running. Just
Right.
basically making sure everybody's. If we're treating everybody equal, just making sure everybody gets the same treatments. Then.
Cool. So you know about Title IX. So why do you think, going off of that question, so why do you think it's important to know about Title IX and inclusion and encouraging participation from all different types of genders and religions and all that?
Because it's a free country, man. So I mean, we have to be willing to accept anybody and everybody. If we didn't accept everybody and everybody, then it would kind of defy what we stand for as a country, So.
All right. So how can coaches proactively minimize liabilities and risks generally? So in other words, how do you avoid things like injuries, medical issues, underlying issues a player might have, stuff like that?
Just making sure you. I know some people don't like to constantly be asked, "Are you okay? Okay," but just making sure you ask your players how they're feeling at all times. Make sure you have their medical records, or you ask the parents. Parents are a big part. You have to make sure you ask the parents what's your son's or your daughter's medical history, basically any asthma, any previous events of dehydration, any previous injuries of sprained ankles or anything like that. Just making sure you're on top of every single student, every player, with the parents, basically. I think because the parents want the best for their kids, want their kids to be as healthy as possible, so parents aren't going to lie, as opposed to the kid. The player will probably want to be playing, emotions run high in games, they're competitive, so you can't really go off with the players that say. You have to be more aware with the parents.
Okay. So what do you think some effective or ineffective approaches are to discipline?
Ineffective. Well, here, ineffective, I think, was. I know running and stuff like that, as discipline is a big part, but here you have to make sure, here in Tucson, especially with the heat, you have to make sure it's safe, basically.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you have water. So running is definitely an okay thing. It's just you got to make sure you are aware of all the circumstances, how hot it is, if you have enough water, things like that. And ineffective, obviously, you don't want to put your hands on the player. So that's a very ineffective way of discipline. You never want to curse somebody out. I'm not going to say you don't want to, but don't get too harsh, basically.
So it depends. It mostly depends on like the individual, pretty much, huh?
Yeah, the age group and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what do you like? What considerations need to be made in regards to compliance, like with Title IX? Like, what steps do you take to make sure that you're in compliance with Title IX?
So, as opposed to all the races and age and genders. Yeah. If you follow the rules, by the code, then you'll be following. I mean, there's nothing else to really follow. I mean, just do what you're told.
Just be knowledgeable
just be knowledgeable about what you're doing, basically.
Yeah. Last question. How can social media be a problem and also an opportunity for coaches?
I think it could be a problem if some people like recruiting and stuff like that. Some if you're gonna be recruiting and stuff like that on social media, then it just depends on like if it's a school, high school, if it's permitted, if it's allowed or not. It could be a good thing or a bad thing, but for the most part, I think social media could be beneficial in that if you're allowed to recruit, then if you're able to recruit, then you can recruit. I think it helps out a lot. But just not exposing other players or bad mouthing players on social media is probably not a good thing. Things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.